for a devotee, it's like that when they attain realization of the Supreme Lord, when they attain the goal, perfection, and they have the spiritual body, then they have this pastimes manifest to them. For a devotee, it's like that when they attain realization of the Supreme Lord, when they attain the goal, perfection, and they have the spiritual body, then they have this pastimes manifest.
Wow, it's really echoing.
Oh,
yeah, I'll have to go back, and I think I'll go back and just look at the way that was conveyed, because
you could ask Shamarani.
Yeah, Tridandi Maharaj was had asked about it, because the conversation came up about how on the cover of the Damodar book Yashoda's complexion is different.
Right.
She can look bluish, etc. And then there was another publication where it was slightly lighter. So the whole question came up. But anyway, I'll go back to it. I don't want to keep Gora from his schedule.
Well, today is talking about Damodar Astakam today in the Parikrama 2. We heard from Radhika Machanda, who's the granddaughter of Bhagavan
and Krishna Bhamani.
She lived in India. She's actually a Berkeley graduate.
Wow.
Janarama Maharaj. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
And
that's from the chapter we're reading now, Gopis Enchanted by the Flute. Yeah. That's the painting from there.
So we're doing today Manasaganga and like that, and there's a whole story about that why. But she was saying today is very special because a lot of it's Diwali, the Festival of Lights. And but also many pastimes occurred that day 5,000 years ago, and especially Damodar. So today is actually the actual day where Mother Yashoda tied Krishna.
Oh.
And so the different colors.
If you put some on the screen. Ask Gora.
Be there, Gora.
I don't have the words.
What?
You wanted us to play Damodar Astakam?
Yeah, please. And today, I also thought today was Dantaras. It's the day appearance of Sri Dhanvantari.
Oh, fantastic! So many pastimes occurred today.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
2 days before Govardhan Puja is Dantaras.
Yeah, and a big day.
The day to honor our medical. The day to honor our medical incarnation and remember who actually is the source of healing and not become diverted by
Okay. Yeah. don't mention the J word, please.
Don't mention too much about Sri Dhanvantari. We got to be careful. Got to stay in line with Big Pharma.
Can I ask a quick question, Prabhu?
Hi, Krishna.
Yes.
Is this a good day, an auspicious day to say pray for a person we know that is ill? Is that
why not?
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, Jagadatri's home from the hospital.
Oh, good.
Oh, Jai, very good. That's great news.
Yeah.
But
your son is okay as well?
Well, he's recuperating.
Yeah.
But he thinks she's at the end of her life, and they're trying to figure out what she's doing. I'm saying that she should go to Vrindavan to the hospice there. It's wonderful. Yeah. But she doesn't want to.
Oh, she doesn't want to make the journey. Okay. Well, I guess with the Vaishnavas around, they can bring Vrindavan to her.
Right. Thank you.
So I don't know if
are you ready to sing?
I was able to answer your question. Is that to do also with the color Mother Yashoda? The devotees were saying why she's like that, one color. And
maybe we'll tap in at the end if it doesn't get too late. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how to play it on the guitar.
Oh, so why don't we practice with it tomorrow?
No, go ahead. You play it, and I'll sing. Okay. I'll hold the guitar.
Now, can you hear us from this?
Yeah.
Namamishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Masakundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yasodavitolukalanam Haramishtamanyam Tato Jagopya Nurdam Tamuhurnitrayimanvijantam Arambojayupina Satankanetram Ruhusvashakampatire Kankarkanta Shtita Gaivam Damodaram Bhaktibaram LIla Virananda Kunde Swakosham Nimajantam Akyapadantam Tadiyasita Geshu Bhaktaititavam Una Prematastam Sata Vritivande Param Deva Mokshana Moksham Vadimva Nachayam Prineham Varesharapiha Idam Vipapurnata Gopalabalam Sadame Manasya Virastam Kimanya Idam te mukham moja atyantanilai Fritam puntalai snigdha ratasthagopya Muhustumitan bimba rattagaramme Manasya virastam alam lakshalabha Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhuta Janati Magnam Vipadristi Vrishjati Dinam Vatanu Vihane Shamam Majam Edachidisha Kubera Bajao Badam Mute Bajanga Kajamuti Tau Bhakti Bhajapritau Cha Tata Prema Bhaktin Swakam Viprayacha Namokshedra Om Vesti Damodareha Namaste Sudamne Smuraditi Damne Tvadiyodarayata Vishwashadamne Namoradikaya Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namoradikaya Tadiya Priyayai Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Damodar ki jai.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is another a more modern painting of the Gopis Enchanted by the Flute of Krishna.
Very sweet.
Do you see Krishna on the left there?
Mhm.
Wonder who did this one right.
Mary was saying.
Okay, it's a combination, or it's Manjari.
The daughter of what was his name?
Kumunda and Tira.
Dira, yeah. They're from Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
That's their daughter, Manjari.
So
She
she's like a third generation.
Yes.
Yeah, she's an amazing artist. But I think she worked with Shamarani and the
They
team.
worked on it. Yeah.
And they worked several paintings together. There's one, I think this one is hers, Manjari's. And then there is one Govardhan, when the celebration, this beautiful painting. It's all the procession of all the rich Vasis with bullock carts, all doing parikrama, circumambulating Govardhan. Thanks for putting all this in this place.
Let's read the translation. Why don't you start, Nirhari and Bhavatrini?
To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose sharp-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who I, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he's crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
Nanda Patni and then Shuddha Sindhu, please.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he's drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy and revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he's only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopala in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. Well, what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
And then myself and then Krishna Chandra. O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair, tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes.
Nirhari and Bhavatrini.
O Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nala Kuvara, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give to me your own prima bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes.
Have any of you been to the spot where the grinding mortar is and seen the actual remnants of it? Remember? Yeah.
What is that place called? What is the name?
It's in Gokula.
I never knew about
That's called Nandagan, isn't it? Gokul?
No. It's very close to the birthplace of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. Actually, yesterday we were virtually traveling again, remembering through that. And there's a palace. There is still the columns are there, and Narayan Maharaj was talking about it's done by Yogamaya took birth there, the twin sister of Krishna, and not too far away, maybe 2 blocks away, maybe 150 yards away, across the highway.
in a courtyard.
There is it's fenced now. It's fenced, and there's a compound, and in there's now there's devotees living, and there's nice gardens, and then there is one area they left intact, whatever is remaining, whatever is remaining of the ruins of that
And they
mortar.
let us put our head on it.
Now when we read the pastime, it says wooden mortar. So I was wondering but there's the traditional it's stone. Yeah, it's there.
There was some wood there.
They may have enshrined it in stone. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's
Well,
It would be 5,000 years old.
I only went there once, and
Yeah.
it was the last time we went on Parikram. It's not that long ago.
2009 was the last.
When we went there?
2010 we were there.
No, but we went to the place, we went on a Parikram later.
Oh, in 2017.
17, yeah, that's when we went there for the first time.
With Bhakti
And-
Siddhama.
And if it wasn't the real grinding mortar, it certainly was.
It is pretty ancient. And the stone
No, I mean,
is very,
it was like imbued with transcendental vibrations. I don't know how to describe it. It was amazing,
Can we start reading now?
of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's reading?
Let's see. Nanda Patni and then Shuddha Sindhu, please.
Okay. Are we just in the middle of something, or?
Yeah, the gopis are being enchanted by Krishna's flute. That's what
Okay.
all the paintings were showing that.
Okay, so another gopi said, "My dear friends, Krishna is so nicely dressed that he appears to be the impetus of various kinds of ceremonies held by the women folk. Even the wives of the denizens of heaven become attached after hearing the transcendental sound of his flute. And although they're traveling in the air in their aeroplanes, enjoying the company of their husbands, on hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, they immediately become perturbed. Their hair is loosened and their tight dresses are slackened. This means that the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna extended to all corners of the universe. Also, it's significant that the gopis knew about the different kinds of airplanes flying in the sky. It is kind of interesting, isn't it?
they knew everything.
Okay, enough said. Another gopi said to her friends, "My dear friends, the cows are also charmed as soon as they hear the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna, it sounds to them like the pouring of nectar, and they immediately spread their long ears to catch the liquid nectar of the flute. As for the calves, they're seen with the nipples of their mothers pressed in their mouths, but they cannot suck the milk. That's so cute. They remain struck with devotion, and tears glide down their eyes, illustrating vividly how they are embracing Krishna heart to heart. You there, Gora?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, these phenomena indicate that even the cows and calves in Vrindavan knew how to cry for Krishna and embrace him heart to heart. Actually, Krishna conscious affection can be culminated in shedding tears from the eyes. Oh.
Is that 2 paragraphs?
Yes, yes.
Okay. A younger
Continue.
Gopi, a younger Gopi told her mother, "My dear mother, the birds who are all looking at Krishna playing on his flute are sitting very attentively on the branches and twigs of different trees. From their features, it appears that they have forgotten everything and are engaged only in hearing Krishna's flute. This proves that they are not ordinary birds. They are great sages and devotees. And just to hear Krishna's flute, they have appeared in Vrindavan forest as birds. Great sages and scholars are interested in Vedic knowledge, but the essence of Vedic knowledge is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedais cha savai aham eva vedyaha. Through the knowledge of the Vedas, Krishna has to be understood. From the behavior of these birds, it appeared that they were great scholars in Vedic knowledge, and that they took to Krishna's transcendental vibration and rejected all branches of Vedic knowledge. Even the river Yamuna, being desirous to embrace the lotus feet of Krishna, after hearing the transcendental vibration of his flute, brought her fierce wave to flow very nicely with lotus flowers in her hands, just to present flowers to Mukunda with deep feeling. The scorching heat of the autumn sunshine was sometimes intolerable, and therefore the clouds in the sky appeared in sympathy above Krishna and Balaram and their boyfriends while they engaged in blowing their flutes. The clouds served as a soothing umbrella over their heads just to make friendship with Krishna. The wanton Aborigine girls also became fully satisfied when they smeared their faces and breasts with the dust of Vrindavan, which was reddish from the touch of Krishna's lotus feet. The Aborigine girls had very full breasts and they were also very lusty, but when their lovers felt their breasts, they were not very satisfied. When they came out in the midst of the forest, they saw that while Krishna was walking, some of the leaves and creepers of Vrindavan turned reddish from the kumkuma powder, which fell from his lotus feet. His lotus feet were held by the gopis on their breasts, which were also smeared with kumkuma powder. But when Krishna traveled in the Vrindavan forest with Balaram and his boyfriends, the reddish powder fell on the ground on the Vrindavan forest. So the lusty Aborigine girls, while looking toward Krishna playing his flute, saw the reddish kumkuma on the ground and immediately took it and smeared it over their faces and breasts. In this way, they became fully satisfied, although they were not satisfied when their lovers touched their breasts. So all material lusty desires can be immediately satisfied if one comes in contact with Krishna consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I noticed we have Ola with us again, and I'm really not sure who Bhakta or Bhaktin Ola is because they remain behind a black mask. So Ola, whoever you are, would you like to come out and read with us, please? I'm asking you to unmute. I don't know if you will. You have not done so as of yet. Come out from wherever you are. Will Ola come and read with us? Can Ola come out and play with us? No response from Ola. Okay. All right. Another gopi began to praise the unique position of Govardhan Hill in this way. How fortunate is this Govardhan Hill, for it is enjoying the association of Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are accustomed to walk on it. Thus, Govardhan is always in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord. And because Govardhan Hill is so obliged to Lord Krishna and Balaram, it is supplying different kinds of fruits, roots, and herbs, as well as very pleasing crystal water from its lakes in presentation to the Lord. The best presentation offered by Govardhan Hill, however, was newly grown grass for the cows and calves. Govardhan Hill knew how to please the Lord by pleasing his most beloved associates, the cows and the cowherd boys. I don't have my pen and paper handy right now, but I'm just trying to understand if someone can briefly say, because we know Govardhan Hill, Giriraj, is Krishna himself, but here it's speaking as if Govardhan Hill is another entity, how Govardhan Hill feels obliged to Lord Krishna and Balaram in supplying different kinds of fruits. Could anyone comment on that, please?
Oh, well, Govardhan is a separate entity from Krishna, just like Balaram's an expansion. He is Govardhan Hari. He's God, but he's also the best, topmost devotee. So
kind of like Lord Chaitanya in a sense.
Not really, because he's not imbued with Radharani's.
But in the sense that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but yet he's a devotee of Krishna.
Right, yeah. So he's both, but he isn't accepted as both at the same time. Like you can worship him sometimes as Govardhan Giridhari or Govardhan Raja, and it's also you can Govardhan Rani.
Yeah, it's Radharani.
Yes.
Because
she's the topmost pure devotee of anyone.
And also it said that Krishna as a male wouldn't have been on Govardhan to witness the intimate pastimes.
Right.
Only Radharani would have.
Yeah.
Right.
There's innumerable caves, something like that.
Yeah, so there are three kind of understandings, right?
But can you explain the last one again? I didn't get the last point, Nandapatni.
So when Babatrini was saying that the Govardhan can be seen as Govardhan, how do they say it?
Govardhan Giridhari.
No, with Rani.
Govardhan Rani.
The third one's
Govardhan Rani. Maybe that's how they say it.
That's what they said. Govardhan.
Yeah. So on Govardhan, Govardhan is seen as Krishna, so that's male. And so Govardhan is also seen as female, as Radharani, because Govardhan itself is the place of the most intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And so it seemed that Radharani would have been the witness to that, those intimate pastimes.
Right. So
as a female.
Yes. No male could be witness. And
for example, it's only the Manjaris that witness the intimate pastimes of Krishna, not the males.
Right.
And not even the Sakis.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that makes sense, Gaurav, but
kind of, sort of. But you made another statement that brought up another question, and that is, if Govardhan Hill is the place of Krishna's most intimate pastimes, and the most intimate pastime of Krishna is to perform his Rasa LIla dance, how is it possible he's doing his Rasa LIla dance on a mountain? Is it? I don't think he did it on Govardhan.
He did.
He
did.
Yes. He did in many places.
The spring, you have the spring. The fall is in Sevakund, but the springtime, Basanti Ras, it's played in Govardhan. And in the two of them, Krishna first begins in Selakunj, Radharani leaves, and then he leaves. But it's a way to show the supremacy and superiority of Radhe. There is approximately a billion, koti is 1 million times 1 million gopis at the Rasa dance, koti. And Krishna leaves all of them. Even though there is no beauty comparable to the beauty of the gopis in the three worlds. You have in depictions, descriptions, even in Chinese, what they call mythology, of the heavenly damsels and goddesses, and you have their extreme, very beautiful females, but they have, Krishna has no attraction for them. Only the gopis, only that are the ones that are being touched by Krishna. But even those are left behind when Radharani leaves. So again, in Govardhan, Krishna again, and this time in Govardhan, he dances only with his liberated companions, or the ones that come from the spiritual world. And Selakunj is those sages of the devotees who had come to the time of perfection. And perfection is Prabhupada says like an ocean, so you keep going at it, and so even though these great souls have attained Boma Vrindavan, and now they're ready to, some of them weren't even ready, so Krishna gives a glance to Balaram and them because they're too little, they're too young. So he said next, so when Balaram returns to Vrindavan, he dances with those gopis. But Govardhan is very, very special. It's very mysterious. It's like Chaitanya Charitamrita says, it's a science full of mysteries.
So with my limited linear mind, I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to understand.
No, you can't understand it.
You can.
Sadly.
So am I not allowed to ask this question?
Not allowed to ask linear questions on a non-linear dimension. Sorry.
School teacher in Nandapati is coming out. What's the difference between linear and binary? Are they synonyms?
Well, like it says that Govardhan was 8 yojanas high, and what was it, Narihari? Sort of
the yojana is about 8 miles, 8 miles per yojana.
Yeah.
And that it's shrinking.
So that's 64 miles high. He said it was so big that it will cast shadow
over Mathura.
Mathura.
Yeah.
At sunset, even before sunset.
54 miles high.
64, 8 times 8.
4 miles high.
Yeah, this is non-linear, Gora.
Non-linear.
And one mustard seed less higher each year, right? For 5,000 years. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Raja means moving, always traveling, moving, changing.
Yeah, today we learn another meaning of
Wait a minute. What did you say? What's always changing and moving?
Raja means
Raja.
Traveling, moving.
I never heard that. That's interesting.
I've heard it twice now.
Today, this devotee sees like second generation. He was little boy when he would come to the parikramas.
Who? What's his name, please?
His name is Rashika Mohan Das. Now he opened a temple in New York, upstate New York. He has his farm. His disciple is Sri Narayana Maharaj. But he
took initiation at 9.
He was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's
his parents are probably Prabhupada disciples.
Okay, I'm interested to meet him. I'm not far from upstate New York, but anyway, I'm just trying to follow here. So he was explaining all of this, or what?
Oh yeah, it was the classes are all about the places that we visit, and we learned that. Yeah. So
this is every night with Tridandi Maharaj, Gora.
No, I've watched. I'm still stuck on Keshava, Bhakti Pragyeshwara's appearance with
Sorry, sorry, Narihari, I interrupted you.
All right, please.
No, that's fine. I wanted to respond to your question, and there were so many things that came in and are important.
Yeah, you're going in many. All I'm trying to
So many
see
things to come.
is there a flat place where they can do the
Of
Rasa
course.
Leela?
Yes, of course.
Vrindavan, it opens up and closes like a lotus flower. And it can be flat, it can be round,
Well,
it can be indented.
Okay.
It can.
Okay, but it's compared to the shape. Govardhan is compared to the shape of the calf that turns. I don't know if you ever seen the calves how they when they lie down, they turn their head towards their heart.
Yeah.
And so that's the heart is Manasaganga. Manasaganga is the Ganga that Lord Krishna manifested. Anyhow, Radhakund and Shamakund are the two eyes of the calf.
Yes.
So that's Govardhan. And Radhakund is in a pretty flat place, you would say, or at the foothills of Govardhan. Kusum Sarovar is there. You have also Govinda Kund. You have
Before you go further, so Radha and Shamakund are considered to be a part of Govardhan.
Yes.
They're the eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a flat place. It's like when you said, oh, let's, I don't know, and let's go to Himalayas. I'm sure there's the foothills of Himalayas, and
Yeah, that's
you know,
where
it has a different name.
That's
Rishikesh.
where
I was there in Himachal Pradesh. That's the foothills. I was there last 2 years ago. Yeah.
But that's the area, and it's called, you know, Govardhan. Specifically, then you have, of course, it's
But-
Radhakund and Shamakund.
Gora, it's not going to make material sense.
Oh no, I get it.
There's koti gopis, million gopis,
Billion,
and
1 billion
billions of gopis. And the dance lasts one night of Brahma. It's still going on.
Right.
You know? So, I mean,
And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it, how Krishna dances with them. He doesn't expand. He runs at the speed, inconceivably speed.
because expanding would be too Ashwarya, too much like God. So he just goes really fast so that they can't tell that he's not with all of
And I was just thinking.
Wait a minute. His dancing is very fast. What do you?
Yeah.
What's
runs,
that?
he goes to each gopi so fast that they can't tell that he's not with them the whole time. He's so fast.
I thought he was dancing with all of them simultaneously, but covering each one over with Yoga Maya, so they can't see.
That's
No.
one description, but
the-
they say actually no, because he doesn't want to be using his God aspect. So he's just using his human aspect, and he's just running really fast.
Okay, I hadn't heard that explanation before, but
Yeah.
That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Chakravarti.
It's when you have, you ever taken a branch or fire out of the fire little thing?
Like a
and do
fire
a
dog.
circle.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Okay.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a
And-
circle.
and-
So
and you were saying that in the Vasant Ras, that's when Krishna leaves. So does that mean that he doesn't leave in the fall?
No,
Ras?
he does both.
in the fall, she leaves first. Radharani leaves.
And in the spring, Krishna leaves first.
No, they go
No,
together.
they leave together.
Okay.
But in that one, he also declares that Radharani is, especially
In that
Govardhan,
one, meaning which one is that
Govardhan.
one?
the one in Govardhan,
In
Okay.
Vashant,
in the springtime.
he declares,
In springtime.
both times he declares Radharani is supreme and no one.
So let's say now is the fall, there's a dance, okay? The
Yeah.
dance of full moon of the autumn season. Next is spring, will be winter and then spring. In that season, when it arrives, Krishna dances again. He does rasa dance several places, but
Yeah.
they're called stalis, or places. And so in the springtime when he dances, he's only dancing with his eternal associates,
Nitya Siddhas.
Nitya
Yeah.
Siddhas.
But we should go back to reading.
Yes,
Yeah.
we should. I realized I was making a
Okay.
faux pas by asking questions, but
But
it's so
if
much.
you realize what we've just been reading is Venu Geet, and it's
Right.
20 verses.
Okay.
And I was asked to write a song about it, but I used to just write, like, my Brahmara Geet is just from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book.
Right.
So when we were reading just now, I was wondering, well, what's actually Venu Geet and what's Srila Prabhupada's our
Commentary.
commentary.
Yeah.
So I did have a Venu Gita with just the verses, and I've been working on it for about 10 years. And
A song.
Yeah.
You're working on the song for 10 years.
Krishna's flute.
Well,
You're a really great song when you're finished.
because Bhakti Sarup Siddhar Maharaj knows all the ragas. There are like thousands.
He
of
wants
them.
me to sing it in a particular raga.
He
too.
knows what raga, how Rupa Goswami will sing.
Raga
Really?
Jaya Jaya.
Yes, his
He's
own song.
teaching it to us.
That's
Wow.
the beauty. We are, if we really realize ourselves, well, we don't know how lucky we are. Really, we don't. Because we are actually, we're so close to where Krishna himself appeared
Is Chaitanya.
500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we have his eternal associates giving us all this knowledge, songs, all this beautiful stuff, and we can get the original ones. Imagine now 5,000 years from now, well, you know, who knows if they'll remember exact. They probably will, because the lines never get cut. There's always a pure one. It's always got to be like two pure devotees in
On
the planet. Otherwise, the whole thing will collapse. But you know, and the thing about how he dances like that is the Gopis is very different than when Lord Brahma does his, you know, he's trying to trick Krishna, and so Krishna showing him, oh yeah, I'm Yogeshwara, and so he kind of then expands them. And he actually does 3 sets of boy. I was just thinking when we were reading this past time. Yeah, it's to do with what we read.
I know, but let's
other day.
read more.
Okay,
let's
let's
read
read.
more.
Thank you, Baba Trini, for keeping us on course.
Well, one of my personal instructions from Srila Prabhupada is to read my books every day, like Krishna book. So,
Yes. Yes.
no,
Thank
no,
you.
no, I'm just saying.
Dear Hari, it was
So
wonderful
this is
hearing
an
from you.
opportunity.
24 hours a day isn't enough. And I have more questions, but I realize
No.
I can't ask them.
I'll have to do them at the end, Gora.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, here we are once again back at the reading material. And Krishna Chandra, because I just read, right? Krishna Chandra, I think it's your turn now, I believe.
For some reason, I thought it was your turn, but I'm happy to read in any
Yeah,
case.
please. Another.
We love to hear you read.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Another Gopi began to praise the unique position of Govardhan Hill in this way. How fortunate is this Govardhan Hill, for it is enjoying the association of Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are accustomed to walk on it. Thus, Govardhan is always in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord. And because Govardhan Hill is so obliged to Lord Krishna and Balaram, it is supplying different kinds of fruits, roots, and herbs, as well as very pleasing crystal water from its lakes in presentations of the Lord. The best presentation offered by Govardhan Hill, however, was newly grown grass for the cows and calves. Govardhan Hill knew how to please the Lord by pleasing his most beloved associates, the cows and the cowherd boys. Another Gopi said that everything appeared wonderful when Krishna and Balaram traveled in the forest of Vrindavan, playing their flutes and making intimate friendship with all kinds of moving and non-moving living creatures. When Krishna and Balaram played on their transcendental flutes, the moving creatures become stunned and stop their activities. And the non-moving living creatures, like trees and plants, began to shiver with ecstasy.
Was that 2 paragraphs?
That's 2 paragraphs.
That's 2 paragraphs.
Okay, I guess they were short ones.
One was short. One was
Indeed.
medium.
Yes.
Oops, what happened? Help.
You scroll. Yeah.
Where was that?
It was when the trees were shivering in ecstasy.
I hope I'm in the right chapter right now. I don't know what I did. I just touched the screen and then it went someplace
I think
else.
you went back because it said Pralambasura.
Yeah. It's
Really?
also
This
rainy season.
Yeah.
what? Really? No, the scriptural
let's-
autumn. Okay.
Mm,
But we're the Gopis attracted by the flute.
Yes. So that's
that actually does make sense.
That's it. Gopis
Yes.
Is that
attracted
it?
by the flute. Yes.
Began to shiver with ecstasy.
Exactly. There we go. You got it.
okay.
And now next up is Bhavtrini and Hari.
Okay. Krishna and Balaram carried binding ropes on their shoulders and in their hands, just like ordinary cowherd boys. While milking the cows, the boys bound the hind legs with a small rope. This rope almost always hung from the shoulders of the boys, and it was not absent on the shoulders of Krishna and Balaram. In spite of their being the supreme personality of Godhead, they played exactly like cowherd boys, and therefore everything became wonderful and attractive. While Krishna was engaged in tending the cows in the forest of Vrindavan or on Govardhan Hill, the gopis in the village were always absorbed in thinking of him and discussing his different pastimes. This is the perfect example of Krishna consciousness, to somehow or other remain always engrossed in thoughts of Krishna. The vivid example is always present in the behavior of the gopis. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya declared that no one can worship the Supreme Lord by any method which is better than the method of the gopis. The gopis were not born in a very high Brahmin or Kshatriya families. They were born in the families of Vaishyas, and not in big mercantile communities, but in the families of cowherd men. They were not very well educated, although they heard all sorts of knowledge from the Brahmins and the authorities of Vedic knowledge. The gopis' only purpose was to remain always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 21st chapter of Krishna, the Gopis Attracted by the Flute.
Now, chapter 22 of the Krishna book, stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls, Nrihari Prabhu.
Okay. According to Vedic civilization, married girls from 10 to 14 years of age are supposed to worship either Lord Shiva or the goddess Durga in order to get a nice husband. But the unmarried girls of Vrindavan were already attracted by the beauty of Krishna. They were, however, engaged in the worship of the goddess Durga in the beginning of the Hemanta season, just prior to the winter season. The first month of Hemanta is called Agrahayana, October, November. And at that time, all the unmarried gopis of Vrindavan began to worship goddess Durga with a vow. The first ate Havishana, a kind of foodstuff prepared by boiling together mung dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of foodstuff is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. All the unmarried gopis in Vrindavan used to daily worship goddess Katyayani early in the morning after taking bath in the river Jamuna. Katyayani is another name for goddess Durga. The goddess is worshipped by preparing a doll made out of sand mixed with earth from the bank of the Jamuna. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that a deity may be made from different kinds of material elements. It can be painted, made of metal, made of jewels, made of wood, earth, or stone, or it can be conceived within the heart of the...
Gora?
Okay, Gora. Within the heart of the worshipper. The Mayavadi philosopher takes all these forms of the deity to be imaginary, but actually they are accepted in Vedic literatures to be identical with either the Supreme Lord or a respected demigod. The unmarried gopis used to prepare the deity of goddess Durga and worship it with chandan pulp, sandalwood pulp, garlands, incense, lamps, and all kinds of presentations, fruits, grains, and twigs of plants. After worshipping, it is the custom to pray for some benediction. The unmarried girls used to pray with great devotion to goddess Katyayani, addressing her as follows. O supreme eternal energy of the personality of Godhead, O supreme mystic power, O supreme controller of this material world, O goddess, please be kind to us and arrange for our marriage with the son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna. The Vaishnavas generally do not worship any demigods. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has strictly forbidden all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet the gopis who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna were seen to worship Durga. The worshippers of demigods also sometimes mention that the gopis also worship goddess Durga. But we must understand the purpose of the gopis. Generally, people worship goddess Durga for some material benediction. Here, the gopis pray to the goddess to become wise of Lord Krishna. The purport is that if Krishna is the center of activity, a devotee can adopt any means to achieve that goal. The gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellent, we like that word, characteristic of the gopis. They worship goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. Every day they pray for Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, to become their husband.
Was that 2 paragraphs?
Yes.
Okay. So I see that Rasangi is here. Are you able to read with us, Rasangi, or you're busy? We have not seen your divine countenance yet.
I'm driving.
Okay. Next is Nanda Patni. Thanks for listening in, Rasangi.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Early in the morning, the gopis used to go to the bank of the Jamuna to take bath. They would assemble together, capturing each other's hands, and loudly sing of the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. It's an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and the women take bath was strictly prohibited to any male member. And this is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, benedicted them with their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. At the end of the month, Krishna, along with his friends, appeared on the scene. Another name of Krishna is Yogeshwar, or the master of all mystic powers. By practicing meditation, the yogi can study the psychic movement, the psychic movement of other men. And certainly, Krishna could understand the desire of the gopis. Appearing on the scene, Krishna immediately collected all the garments of the gopis, climbed up in a nearby tree, and with a smiling face, began to speak to them.
Should it, Sindhu?
Okay. My dear girls, he said, please come here one after another and pray for your garments and then take them away. I'm not joking with you. I'm just telling the truth. I have no desire to play any joke with you, for you have observed the regulative principles for 1 month by worshipping goddess Katyayani. Please do not come here all at once. Come alone. I want to see each of you in your complete beauty, for you all have thin waists. I have requested you to come alone. Now please comply. Due to remaining in the water for a long time, the gopis felt cold and were shivering. When the girls in the water heard such joking words from Krishna, they began to look at one another and smile. They were joyous to hear such a request from Krishna because they were already in love with him. Out of shyness, they looked at one another, but they could not come out of the water because they were naked. Due to remaining in the water for a long time, they felt cold and were shivering. Yet, upon hearing the pleasing and joking words of Govinda, their minds were perturbed with great joy. They began to tell Krishna, "Dear son of Nanda Maharaj, please do not joke with us in that way. It is completely unjust to us. You are a very respectable boy because you are the son of Nanda Maharaj and you are very dear to us. But you should not play this joke on us because now we are all shivering from the cold water. Kindly deliver our garments immediately. Otherwise we shall suffer." They then began to appeal to Krishna with great submission. "Dear Shama Sundara," they say, "we are all your eternal servitors. Whatever you order us to do, we are obliged to perform without hesitation because we consider it our religious duty. But if you insist on putting this proposal to us, which is impossible to perform, then certainly we will have to go to Nanda Maharaj and lodge a complaint against you. If Nanda Maharaj does not take action, then we shall tell King Kamsa about your misbehavior."
That was only one paragraph, right?
I think two already, but I can read this one. Okay.
Yes, read one more paragraph.
Upon hearing this appear by the unmarried gopis, Krishna answered, "My dear girls, if you think that you are my eternal servitors and you're always ready to execute my order, then my request is that with your smiling faces, you please come here alone, one after another, and take away your garments. If you do not come here, however, and if you lodge complaints to my father, I shall not care anyway. For I know my father is old and
Hello?
Or
I
She
cannot
froze.
take any action against me. Oh. What? Okay.
wasn't me.
Kavi Chandra Swami is here. That was him.
Who's here?
Kavi Chandra Swami.
Oh, he came. I just invited him. Great. Maharaj, you're on if you'd like to read when the gopis saw that Krishna was strong. Our obeisances to you, Maharaj.
Dandavat Pranams, Maharaj.
Whenever we see you, we think of Mayapur Dham, because that's what we see in the photo. Maharaj is playing all his favorite songs to us.
Oh, wow, look at that photo.
Jai Maharaj, great to hear from you
I
again.
tried to get on at 7:35 and it said the meeting hadn't started yet or something.
Oh, well, all the devotees were here. We've all been waiting for you. Can we see your divine?
No,
No?
I just wanted to listen.
No darshan from you. Okay, well, can you read? Can you at least read when the gopis saw?
No, you can read.
It's Krishna.
As you wish. If you order me to read, I'll read, but I wanted to hear you read. Oh, look, Jalangi Dasi's here all the way from Berlin. Yay. It's your turn to read, Jalangi. She's connecting to the audio. Wow, all the way from Berlin.
Jai.
Jalangi, you're on. It's your turn. Hare Krishna, Jalangi.
One after another, they came out of the water.
Are you going to read now, Maharaj? Good.
Yeah, I
Please
was
continue.
reading, but my internet keeps going off and on, so it's not very good.
Okay, why don't you try it for a paragraph?
It'll just blank out, you know.
Let's see. Try for it. Well, I guess he already blanked out.
It probably dropped already, yeah.
Jalangi, are you there?
Pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Kachayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked before any male except their husband. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. Being pleased with them, he took their garments on his shoulder and began to speak as follows. My dear girls, you have committed a great offense by going naked in the river Yamuna. Because of this, the presiding deity of Yamuna, Varunadev, has become displeased with you. Therefore, just touch your foreheads with folded palms and bow down before the demigod Varuna to be excused from this offensive act. The gopis were all simple souls, and whatever Krishna said, they took to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varunadev, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their vows and ultimately to please the worshipful Lord Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors.
We're reading 2 paragraphs each. Would you mind reading one more, Marsh?
Nothing can compare
to the Krishna consciousness of the gopis. Actually, the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. Are you there? Krishna became very
and immediately delivered their respective garments one after another. Although Krishna cheated the young unmarried girls, gopis, and made them stand naked before him, they enjoyed joking words with him, and although he treated them like dolls
and stole their garments, they were still pleased with him and never lodged complaints against him. This attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, my dear Lord, you may embrace me or trample me
broken-hearted by not being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipful Lord object.
This is the attitude of the gopis toward Krishna. Did you have a comment before we move on, Maharaj? He's up in the Radha Govinda temple. Maybe the reception is not so great at Radha Govinda's temple.
I'm not at the temple, I'm at somebody's house, but they're having
okay.
They're having a lot of trouble with the internet now today.
I see. Okay. Before Jalangi reads, is there any comment you'd like to make, or shall we just continue reading?
No, just carry on.
Okay, Jalangi, thanks, Maharaj. Jalangi, are you ready to read?
Yes, my most humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada, to all of you, especially to Maharaj.
Jai.
Hi.
Lord Krishna was pleased with them, and since they all desired to have him as their husband, he told them, my dear well-behaved girls, I know of your desire for me and why you worshipped Goddess Katyayani, and I completely approve of your action. Anyone whose full consciousness is always absorbed in me, even if in lust is elevated, as a fried seed cannot fructify, so any desire in connection with my loving service cannot produce any fruitive results, as in ordinary karma. There is a statement in the Brahma Samhita, Karmani nirdhate kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Everyone is bound by his fruitive activities, but the devotees, because they work completely for the satisfaction of the Lord, suffer no reactions. Similarly, the gopis' attitude toward Krishna, although seemingly lusty, should not be considered to be like the lusty desires of ordinary women. The reason is explained by Krishna himself. Activities in devotional service to Krishna are transcendental to any fruitive results. My dear gopis, Krishna continued, Your desire to have me as your husband will be fulfilled because with this desire you have worshipped Goddess Katyayani. I promise you that during the next autumn season you shall be able to meet with me and you shall enjoy me as your husband.
Taking shelter of the shade of the trees, Krishna became very happy. While walking, he began to address the inhabitants of Vrindavan. My dear Stolka Krishna, my dear Varutava, my dear Bhadrasen, my dear Sudam, my dear Subal, my dear Arjun, my dear Vishala, my dear Rishabh, just look at these most fortunate trees of Vrindavan. They have dedicated their lives to the welfare of others. Individually, they are tolerating all kinds of natural disturbances, such as hurricanes, torrents of rain, scorching heat, and piercing cold, but they are very careful to relieve our fatigues and give us shelter. My dear friends, I think they are glorified in this birth as trees. They are so careful to give shelter to others that they are like noble, highly elevated, charitable men who never deny charity to one who approaches them. No one is denied shelter by these trees. They supply various kinds of facilities to human society, such as leaves, flowers, fruit, shade, roots, bark, flavor, extracts, and fuel. They are the perfect example of noble life. They are like a noble person who has sacrificed everything possible, his mind, body, activities, intelligence, and words, in engaging in the welfare of all living entities. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead walked on the bank of the Yamuna, touching the leaves of the trees and their fruits, flowers, and twigs, and praising their glorious welfare activities. Different people may accept certain welfare activities to be beneficial for human society, according to their own views. But the welfare activity that can be rendered to people in general for eternal benefit is the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. Everyone should be prepared to propagate this movement. As instructed by Lord Chaitanya, one should be humbler than the grass on the ground and more tolerant than the tree. The tolerance of the trees is explained by Lord Krishna himself. And those who are engaged in the preaching of Krishna consciousness should learn lessons from the teachings of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya through their direct disciplic succession. I guess I'll just end it. There's just a paragraph left. While passing through the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of the Jamuna, Krishna sat down at a beautiful spot and allowed the cows to drink the cold and transparent water of the Jamuna. Being fatigued, the cowherd boys, Krishna and Balaram, also drank. After seeing the young gopis taking bath in the Yamuna, Krishna passed the rest of the morning with the boys. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 22nd chapter of Krishna, stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls, which brings us to chapter 23, delivering the wives of the Brahmins who perform sacrifices. Did anybody recognize when we were reading, there was that portion there? I'll see if I can find the painting that goes with it, where Krishna was glorifying the trees for being humble and bowing to him. And you know the part that I was just quoting?
Yeah, that you just read.
Yeah. He's with, it's Krishna Balaram you talking about in the forest? And
Yeah.
Krishna showing, yeah. That's it when he's entering that phase of youth, which he assumed then is the original form.
I was sure. Yes, go on.
Yeah, you wonder who the artist is. Do you remember that, Trini?
No, there was a particular painting that goes with it. Do you know the painting I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes. It's really beautiful, actually.
I think of the one where Krishna says to Balaram, because this one says he's talking to Subal and Arjuna and different
Which one is saying?
In Sudama, he's talking to them about the trees, but there's one where he's saying, my dear brother Balaam, you're just like the trees. And then he describes.
This one here on the top corner left. That's the one you're referring to? Dora?
Well, I was trying to find it, but at least this painting here, of course, everyone knows this one of Krishna with Gopi Jana Vastra. What is it? Gopi Jana Vastra Vihari? I think Krishna stealing the. This isn't the one I'm looking for, but this is from that chapter. Did Prabhupada authorize this painting? I think so.
I think
Maharaj might know. I'm sure
it's an early painting.
It's very early painting, so it definitely was authorized. Yes,
right. So all the gopis had their innermost desires fulfilled.
There's a description in that is happening also with those who have attained perfection. The older gopis, they mix their clothing, actually at the end, they mix their clothing with young girls. And it's a sign that they're being accepted now. After this pastime occurs and they go in now,
I see.
They take their clothes, but yeah.
We're doing really good, actually. We just have one chapter and we're on Govardhan Hill for
We're on
Friday.
time. Oh, great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We're on schedule.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So who's after me reading? Who I need to look at the schedule here. Whose turn is it? Is it Nanda Patni's? Whose turn?
Me?
Krishna Chandra.
Krishna Chandra.
I feel like it's my turn.
Yeah.
I usually go
And then
after
Baba
him.
Mini Rahari. And then Nanda Patni.
Chandra.
Yeah, please, Krishna Chandra.
Thank you, Prabhu. The screen hasn't been shared yet.
Delivering the wives of the Brahmins who performed sacrifices. Chapter 23.
Jai. The morning passed, and the cowherd boys were very hungry because they had not eaten breakfast. They immediately approached Krishna and Balaram and said, "Dear Krishna and Balaram, you are both all-powerful. You can kill many, many demons, but today we are very much afflicted with hunger, and this is disturbing us. Please arrange for something that will mitigate our hunger." Requested in this way by their friends, Lord Krishna and Balaram immediately showed compassion on certain wives of Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. These wives were great devotees of the Lord, and Krishna took this opportunity to bless them. He said, "My dear friends, please go to the house of the Brahmanas nearby. They are now engaged in performing Vedic sacrifices known as Angiras, for they desire elevation to heavenly planets. All of you, please go to them." Then Lord Krishna warned his friends, "These Brahmanas are not Vaishnavas. They cannot even chant our names, Krishna and Balaram. They are very busy in chanting the Vedic hymns, although the purpose of Vedic knowledge is to find me. But because they are not attracted by the names of Krishna and Balaram, you had better not ask them for anything in my name. Please ask for some charity in the name of Balaram."
Hari and Bavatrini.
Charity is generally given to the high-class Brahmins, but Krishna and Balaram did not appear in a Brahmin family. Balaram was known as the son of Vasudeva, Kshatriya, and Krishna was known in Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Maharaj, who was a Vaishya. Neither belonged to the Brahmin community. Therefore, Krishna considered that the Brahmanas engaged in performing sacrifices might not be induced to give charity to a Kshatriya and a Vaishya, but at least if you utter the name of Balaram, they may prefer to give charity to a Kshatriya rather than me, because I'm only a Vaishya. Being thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the boys went to the Brahmanas and began to ask for some charity. They approached them with folded hands and fell down on the ground to offer respect. Oh, earthly gods, kindly hear us who are ordered by Lord Krishna and Balaram. We hope you know them both very well, and we wish you all good fortune. Krishna and Balaram are tending cows nearby, and we have accompanied them. We have come to ask for some food from you. You are all Brahmanas and knowers of religious principles. And if you think that you should give us charity, then give us some food and we shall eat along with Krishna and Balaram. You are the most respectable Brahmanas within the human society, and you are expected to know all the principles of religious procedure. Yeah.
Although the boys were village boys, Lord Krishna and Balaram immediately, what did you do? You move. Oh, you move, but if you scroll down a little bit more. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Although, that's all right. I'll start again. Although the boys were village boys and were not expected to be learned in all the Vedic principles of religious ritual, they hinted that because their association with Krishna and Balaram, they knew all those principles. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Balaram, asked for food. The boys would, when they asked for food, the boys would immediately deliver it without hesitation, because it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one should perform yajna, sacrifices, only for the satisfaction of Vishnu. The boys continue, Lord Vishnu, as Krishna and Balaram is standing waiting, and you should immediately deliver whatever food you have in your stall. They also explained to the Brahmanas how foodstuffs are to be accepted. Generally, the Vaishnavas or pure devotees of the Lord do not take part in ordinary sacrificial performances, but they know very well the ceremonials named Diksha, Pushashanta, Sotramya. One is permitted to take food after the procedure of Diksha and before the animal sacrificial ceremony and the Sotramani, or ceremony in which liquors are also offered. The boys said, we can take your food at the present stage of your ceremony, but for now it will not be prohibitory. So you can deliver us the foodstuff.
Then the Patni, then Jalangi, then Maharaj.
Although the companions of Lord Krishna and Balaram were simple cowherd boys, they were in a position to dictate even to the high-class Brahmins engaged in Vedic rituals of sacrifices. But the smarter Brahmins, who were simply sacrificial-minded, could not understand the dictation of the transcendental devotees of the Lord. They couldn't even appreciate the begging of the Supreme Lord, Krishna and Balaram. And although they heard all the arguments on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, they didn't care for them, and they refused to speak to the boys. Despite being highly elevated in the knowledge of the Vedic sacrificial rites, all such non-devotee Brahmins, although they think of themselves as very highly elevated, are ignorant, foolish persons. All their activities are useless because they do not know the purpose of the Vedas as it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, to understand Krishna. In spite of their advancement in Vedic knowledge and rituals, they do not understand Krishna. Therefore, their knowledge of the Vedas is superficial. Lord Chaitanya, therefore, gave his valuable opinion that a person doesn't have to be born in a Brahmin family. If he knows Krishna or the science of Krishna consciousness, he is more than a Brahmin. And he is quite fit to become spiritual master.
What happened?
We're in the dictionary.
Okay. Was that just one paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Okay. There are various details to be observed in performing, in the performance of sacrifices, and they're known as collectively as desha. They are as follows. Kala means the time, pritak, dravya, the different detailed paraphernalia, mantra, hymns, tantra, spiritual evidences, Agni, fire, Rikvij, learned performers of sacrifices, Devata, the demigods, Vajramana, the performer of the sacrifices, Kratu, the sacrifice itself, and Dharma, the procedures. All these are for satisfying Krishna. It is confirmed that he is the actual enjoyer of all sacrifices because he is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Absolute Truth, beyond the conception of or speculation of material senses. He is present just like an ordinary human boy, but for persons who identify themselves with this body, it's very difficult to understand him. The Brahmins were very interested in the comforts of this material body and the elevation to the higher planetary residences called Swargavash. They were therefore completely unable to understand the position of Krishna.
When the boys saw that the Brahmanas would not speak to them, they became very disappointed. They then returned to Lord Krishna and Balaram and explained everything that had happened. After hearing their statements, the Supreme Personality began to smile. He told them that they should not be sorry for being refused by the Brahmanas because that is the way of begging. He convinced them that while one is engaged in collecting or begging, one should not think that he will be successful everywhere. He may be unsuccessful in some places, but that should not be cause for disappointment. Lord Krishna then asked all the boys to go again, but this time to the wives of those Brahmanas engaged in sacrifices. He also informed them that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food in my name and the name of Balaram, and I am sure that they will deliver you as much food as you desire. Carrying out Krishna's order, the boys immediately went to the wives of the Brahmanas. They found the wives sitting inside their house. They were very beautifully decorated with ornaments. After offering them all respectful obeisances, the boys said, "Dear mothers, please accept our humble obeisances and hear our statement. May we inform you that Lord Krishna and Balaram are nearby. They have come here with the cows, and you may know also that we have come here under their instructions. All of us are very hungry. Therefore, we have come to you for some food. Please give us something to eat for Krishna, Balaram, and ourselves."
Maharaj, are you still with us? I'm not sure if he's still there. Let me have a look. Shuddha Sindhu. You're after Jalangi. And then Rasangi, are you home yet? Or are you still driving? Hello, can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Shuddha Sindhu, would you like
It is 6 o'clock. What time do you go till?
Well, we're trying to finish this chapter so we can start Govardhan Hill.
I know.
We're usually done at this time.
Okay.
If you have to go, you have to go. Anyway, I'm just trying to get in whatever reading we can right now.
Okay, I'm going to just listen because I'm in the middle of doing some things.
Okay, that's fine. Shuddha Sindhu, please.
Okay. Immediately upon hearing this, the wife of the Brahmanas became anxious for Krishna and Balaram. This reaction was spontaneous. They did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very anxious to see them. Being at once by thinking of Krishna constantly, they were performing the greatest form of mystic meditation. All the wife then became very busily engaged in filing up different pots with nice foodstuff. Due to the performance of the sacrifice, the various food was all very palatable. After collecting a feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most lovable object, exactly in the way rivers flow to the sea. For a long time, the wives had been anxious to see Krishna. However, when they were preparing to leave home to go see him, their husbands, fathers, sons, and relatives asked them not to go, but the wife did not comply. When a devotee is caught by the attraction of Krishna, he does not care for bodily ties. The women entered the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of Yamuna, which was verdant with vegetation and newly grown vines and flowers. Within that forest, they saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in tending the cows, along with their very affectionate boyfriends.
Is it my turn?
Did you
Can you
read two
hear me?
paragraphs? Should have seen it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read two. Yeah.
Okay. So then we're back to what? Did you miss a turn, Bhavatrini?
No.
Okay. The Brahmin's wife saw Krishna putting on a garment glittering like gold. He wore a nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. He was also painted with the minerals found in Vrindavan, and he looked exactly like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him keeping one hand on the shoulder of his friend, and in his other hand, he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. With their very eyes, the wives of the Brahmins saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom they had heard so much, who was so dear to them, and in whom their minds were always absorbed. Now they saw him eye to eye and face to face, and Krishna entered within their hearts through their eyes. Such wonderful poetry. They began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, and the distress of separation was mitigated immediately. They were just like great sages who, by their advancement of knowledge, merged into the existence of the Supreme. As the Supersoul living in everyone's heart, Lord Krishna could understand their minds. They had come to him despite all the protests of their relatives, fathers, husbands, brothers, and all the duties of household affairs. They came just to see him, who was their life and soul. They were actually following Krishna's instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. One should surrender to him, giving up all varieties of occupational and religious duties. The wives of the Brahmins actually carried out the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita in total. He therefore began to speak to them, smiling very magnificently. It should be noted in this connection that when Krishna entered into the wives' hearts, and when they embraced him and felt the transcendental bliss of being merged with him, the Supreme Lord Krishna did not lose his identity, nor did the individual wives lose theirs. The individuality of both the Lord and the wives remained, yet they felt oneness in existence. When a lover submits to his lover without any pinch of personal consideration, that is called oneness. Lord Chaitanya has taught us this feeling of oneness in his Shikshastaka. Krishna may act freely, doing whatever he likes, but the devotee should always be in oneness or in agreement with his desires. That oneness was exhibited by the wives of the Brahmins in their love for Krishna. Krishna Chandra Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Krishna welcomed them with the following words. My dear wives of the Brahmanas, you are all very fortunate and welcomed here. Please let me know what I can do for you. Your coming here neglecting all the restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands in order to see me is completely befitting. One who does this actually knows his self-interest, because rendering transcendental loving service unto me without motive or restriction is actually auspicious for the living entities. Lord Krishna here confirms that the highest perfectional stage of the conditioned soul is surrender to him. One must give up all other responsibilities. This complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most auspicious path for the conditioned soul, because the Supreme Lord is the supreme objective of love. Everyone is loving Krishna ultimately, but realization is according to the advancement of his knowledge. One comes to understand that his self is the spirit soul, and the spirit soul is nothing but a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal of love, and thus one should surrender unto him. This surrender is considered auspicious for the conditioned soul. Our life, property, home, wife, children, house, country, society, and all paraphernalia which are very dear to us are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the central object of love because he gives us all bliss, expanding himself in so many ways according to our different situations, namely bodily, mental, or spiritual.
Baba Trini and Rihari. Baba Tarini and Rihari?
Sorry,
Are you there?
It was muted.
She was reading
Sorry.
without.
I didn't unmute it. Sorry.
Okay.
My dear wives of the Brahmins, Krishna said, you can now return to your homes. Engage yourself in sacrificial activities and be engaged in the service of your husbands and household affairs, so that your husbands will be pleased with you, and the sacrifice which they have begun will be properly executed. After all, your husbands are householders, and without your help, how can they execute their prescribed duties? And the wives of the Brahmins replied, Dear Lord, this sort of instruction does not befit you. Your eternal promise is that you will always protect your devotees, and now you must fulfill this promise. Anyone who comes and surrenders unto you never goes back to the conditioned life of material existence. We expect that you will now fulfill your promise. We have surrendered unto your lotus feet, which are covered by the tulsi leaves. So we have no more desire to return to the company of our so-called relatives, friends, and society, and give up the shelter of your lotus feet. And what shall we do returning home? Our husbands, brothers, fathers, sons, mothers, and our friends do not expect to see us because we have already left them all. Therefore, we have no shelter to return to. Please, therefore, do not ask us to return home, but arrange for our stay under your lotus feet so that we can eternally live under your protection. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, My dear wives, rest assured that your husbands will not neglect you on your return, nor will your brothers, sons, or fathers refuse to accept you, because you are my pure devotees. Not only your relatives, but also people in general, as well as the demigods, will be satisfied with you. Krishna is situated as Supersoul in everyone's heart. So if someone becomes a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, he immediately becomes pleasing to everyone. The pure devotees of Lord Krishna is never inimical to anyone. A sane person cannot be an enemy of a pure devotee. Transcendental love for me does not depend upon bodily connection, Krishna said further. But anyone whose mind is always absorbed in me will surely very soon come to me for my eternal association.
Mitra.
Mhm.
After being instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the wives again returned home to their respective husbands. Pleased to see their wives back home, the Brahmanas executed the performances of sacrifices by sitting together as it is enjoined in the Shastras. According to Vedic principle, religious rituals must be executed by the husband and wife together. When the Brahmanas' wives returned, the sacrifice was duly and nicely executed. One of the Brahmanas' wives, however, who was forcibly checked from going to see Krishna, began to remember him as she heard of his bodily features. Being completely absorbed in his thought, she gave up her material body conditioned by the laws of nature. One more paragraph. Huh?
Yes.
Sri Govinda, ever joyful personality of Godhead, revealed his transcendental pastimes, appearing just like an ordinary human being, and enjoyed the food offered by the wives of the Brahmanas. In this way, he attracted common persons to Krishna consciousness. He attracted to his words and beauty all the cows, cower boys, and damsels in Vrindavan.
Nandapatni, I don't think we've heard from you for a while, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
Is that right? Okay. After the return of the wives from Krishna, the Brahmins engaged in the performance of sacrifices began to regret their sinful activities in refusing food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They could finally understand their mistake. Engaged in the performance of Vedic rituals, they had neglected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared just like an ordinary human being and asked for some food. They began to condemn themselves after seeing the faith and devotion of their wives. They regretted very much that although their wives were elevated to the platform of pure devotional service, they themselves couldn't understand even a little bit of how to love and offer transcendental loving service to the Supreme Soul. They began to talk among themselves. To hell with our being born Brahmins. To hell with our learning all Vedic literatures. To hell with our performing great sacrifices and observing all the rules and regulations. To hell with our family. To hell with our expert service in performing the rituals exactly to the descriptions of the scriptures. To hell with it all. For we have not developed transcendental loving service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the speculation of the mind, body, and senses. The learned Brahmins, expert in the Vedic ritualistic performances, were properly regretful, because without developing Krishna consciousness, all discharge of religious duties is simply a waste of time and energy. They continued talking amongst themselves. The external energy of Krishna is so strong that it can create illusion to overcome even the greatest mystic yogi. Although we expert Brahmins are considered to be the teachers of all other sections of human society, we also have been illusioned by the external energy. Just see how fortunate these women are who have so devotedly dedicated their lives to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. They could easily give up their family connection, which is so difficult to do. Family life is just like a dark well for the continuation of material miseries.
Shri Sindhu.
Women in general, being very simple in heart, can very easily take to Krishna consciousness, and when they develop love for Krishna, they can easily get liberation from the clutches of Maya, which is very difficult for even so-called intelligent and learned men to surpass. According to Vedic injunction, women are not allowed to undergo the purificatory process of initiation by the sacred thread, nor are they allowed to live as brahmacharini in the ashram of the spiritual master, nor are they advised to undergo the strict disciplinary procedure, nor are they very much expert in discussing philosophy or self-realization. And by nature, they are not very pure, nor are they very much attached to auspicious activities. But how wonderful it is that they have developed transcendental love for Krishna, the Lord of all mystic yogis, the Brahmanas exclaim. They have surpassed all of us in firm faith and devotion unto Krishna. Being too attached to the materialistic way of life, although we are considered to be masters in all purificatory processes, we did not actually know what the goal is. Even though we were reminded of Krishna and Balaram by the cowherd boys, we disregarded them. We think now that it was simply a trick of mercy upon us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he sent his friends to beg foodstuff from us. Otherwise, he had no need to send them. He could have satisfied their hunger then and there just by willing to do so. If someone denies Krishna's self-sufficiency on hearing that he was tending the cows for livelihood, or if someone doubts his not being in need of the foodstuff, thinking that he was actually hungry, then one should understand that the goddess of fortune is always engaged in his service. In this way, the goddess can break her faulty habit of restlessness. In Vedic literatures like Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Krishna is served in his abode with great respect by not only one goddess of fortune, but many thousands. Therefore, it is simple illusion for one to think that Krishna begged food from the Brahmanas. It was actually a trick to show them the mercy of accepting him in pure devotional service. The Vedic ceremonial paraphernalia, the suitable place, suitable time, different grades of articles for performing ritualistic ceremonies, the Vedic hymns, the priest who is able to perform such sacrifice, the fire, the demigods, the performer of the sacrifice, and the religious principles are all meant for understanding Krishna. For Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Lord Vishnu and the Lord of all mystic yogis.
Jalangi?
Because he has appeared as a child in the dynasty of the Yadus, we were so foolish that we could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Brahmanas said. But on the other hand, we are very proud because we have such exalted wives who have developed pure transcendental service of the Lord without being shackled by our rigid position. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, under whose illusory energy called Maya, we are absorbed in fruitive activities. We therefore pray to the Lord to be kind enough to excuse us because we are simply captivated by his external energy. We transgressed his order without knowing his transcendental glories. The Brahmanas repented for their sinful activities. They wanted to go personally to offer their obeisances unto him, but being afraid of Kamsa, they could not go. In other words, it is very difficult for one to surrender fully unto the personality of Godhead without being purified by devotional service. The example of the learned Brahmanas and their wives is vivid. The wives of the Brahmanas, because they were infused by pure devotional service, did not care for any kind of opposition. They immediately went to Krishna. But although the Brahmanas had come to know the supremacy of the Lord and were repenting, they were still afraid of King Kamsa because they were too addicted to fruitive activities. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 23rd chapter of Krishna delivering the wives of the Brahmanas who performed sacrifices.
Jai, Krishna fulfill my desires because we're right on time for worshiping Govardhan Hill on Friday. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't think we were going to do it. I didn't think we were going to be able to do it. At one point we were like 4 or 5. Huh?
I never doubted it.
Really? Wow, you have more faith than me.
Now I'm thinking that actually I was listening how about in Anakud or Govardhan, we could ask, Govardhan gives anything and everything. And most people go there, a lot of people go there to ask for material success.
Right.
And, very few go to us for pure devotional service.
Right.
But if you ask,
and he gives, but
immediately.
rarest of all,
Right.
rarest of all is those who ask for Radha Dasyam, to be in a Paliya Dasi of Radharani. He then will think, he'll go, oh, and whether we're qualified or not, he will give. If we're not qualified, he will give us the qualification. So all this came about, I think, is your desire. Govardhan was listening. And so
you're giving me a lot of credit. You're giving me a lot of credit. I'll tell you a couple of thoughts that popped into my head as we were reading this, if I may please share. Is I was thinking how Krishna was hungry for the love of his devotees. That's what he really was hungry for.
Right.
And I think I find this chapter so instructive because there's the tendency of men to, minimize the ladies or accuse them of feminism. I mean, and that may be there, I'm not going to get into that, but I was just thinking it's so interesting how the Brahmins were so caught up in the letter of the law that when the very object of their worship was present, they're like, hey, don't bother us, bunch of little coward boys. Can't you see, like, we're busy in doing our yagyas here, like we're involved in important work. Don't, bother us with some little beggars, they just couldn't recognize. But the Brahmins' wives, even though they were not these big pundits, their hearts were pure. So you can see how simplicity is also a qualification for devotional service, and how I guess it's like watering the weeds, right? One can become very, very knowledgeable, very scholarly, and that could actually end up inhibiting their ability to recognize Krishna, to love Krishna.
That's why the verse Trinadapi Samichina Tararapi Sahasana. Yeah, that's the most important verse. Sometimes it's said that humility is the same as Krishna praying.
Oh, nice. I also like the comment about how Prabhupada was saying that the coward boys were disappointed when, they came to ask on part of Krishna and Balaram, and how, they were treated rudely by the Brahmins. But Prabhupada said, but, that's the way of begging.
Krishna,
We always refer to that for
one,
book distribution.
And you understand that one.
Yeah. Yeah, but also just to apply that in terms of community, because sometimes we may want to be a part of community, but we don't always necessarily feel welcomed or loved in a particular community. And in that sense, we're like beggars. We're begging for love. We're begging for acceptance, but we may not always get it. And so I was thinking, the silver lining in that is, well, here's a chance to become humble. If someone doesn't want to, appreciate or love or welcome, well, there's an opportunity in that, right? I mean, even the personal growth self-help speakers, they speak in that way, right? When you're that you don't see an obstacle as an obstacle, but you see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, they're probably being inspired by Krishna, the ones that's the self-help people that speak like that.
And also another lesson I got is how the authorities, their husbands, their fathers, are telling him, no, don't go to see this Krishna and Balaram. And because I recently put up a post on, I mean, maybe some authorities may not appreciate this, but in my rebellious mood, I made a post stating that sometimes it's spiritual advancement if we don't listen to our authorities. And I was citing the example I sent to Nrihari Prabhu some weeks ago. I think it was Bhakti Vilas Tirtha that told Prabhupada, no, you're not ready for sannyas. And, we haven't really given you permission to go overseas. And
he said, first become a worthy institution. Worthy institution. So Chaitanya Maharaj, Chaitanya Prabhu was saying too, he said, I didn't join a society. I just became a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to be a disciple. Everybody that joined. And nowadays it might be a different story. But
now they have courses on how to join ISKCON.
The society.
Right.
But one thing too, and this strikes me, 3 qualifications are mentioned by Lord Chaitanya about Sanatana Goswami. And one was humility, austerity, and scholarship. Those three were equal, and they say that actually renunciation and knowledge are the children of bhakti. So we cannot neglect the children of bhakti and be bhakti, expecting bhakti to be happy with us.
Austerity was too.
So austerity, but all these things come as a natural, as a effect of us attaining Krishna consciousness.
They're side effects.
They're side effects.
Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnana. What is it? How's that the third line? Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnaniyati Ashu Varagyam Ahaitukam. What's the last line?
Jnanam cha.
Jnanam cha yada Ahaitukam. Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so just imagine if Prabhupada would have listened to Bhakti Vilas Tirtha, who told him he wasn't ready or qualified. If Prabhupada would have listened to him, I wouldn't even be talking to you right now. I might not even have come to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So what comes first, the rules or our love, or
They say follow your heart, right?
the order of the spiritual master? We always do. Ultimately, we always do follow our heart. When we're convinced by that, then we give up everything.
But it was interesting.
So that love and affection that we have for Srila Prabhupada, that was transmitted by our senior god brothers when they opened temples and we came, or if they directly came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, there was that love and affection. We're ready to do anything.
Yeah, so I think as men, we have to be careful, not to minimize the ladies, because we see in this instance, the ladies actually were more qualified to receive Krishna and Balaram's mercy, and the husbands later, they at least had the humility to realize, wow, we really messed up.
Almost. It says at the end that they didn't want to give up their fruitive activities. They were too attached. They almost, but it's good to recognize that women aren't disqualified, but at the same time, the story is not saying they achieved this due to being in a woman's body. They achieved it due to not having the pride of the husbands who had the position, and they didn't have the position. So
I mean, medically speaking, if they were following, especially then so strictly, Vedic culture, they would have stayed home.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Very strict.
Yeah. Gotta listen to my husband.
Yeah. If they would identify, what is that 11th? What is the verse? I'm not a sannyas. I'm not brahmachari. I'm not
Gopi Bhartika Pada Kamalarna Dasa Dasa Anudas. I'm not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. I'm not a sannyasi, grahasta, vanaprastha, brahmachari. I'm simply the servant of the servant of the servant of the milkmaids of Braj.
So there is no material qualification or disqualification for Bhakti Yoga to appear.
And that was Srila Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada said big devotee means big-hearted devotee, Maha Atma, I mean, just imagine, because some ladies, they come to the Sunday feast, the Indian ladies, they're very beautiful, red sari. I mean, you might have a guy with stinky feet beside her, some Western person. But somehow the propagated, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You wanted to finish. So,
no.
Yeah, I mean, you see, they're very strict followers, but when it comes to Krishna, like the gopis, they give up. They say they compare Radharani's husband like a tree, and the grandfathers like mountains. They had to go through so much in order to be able to meet with Krishna. It wasn't just 1, 2, 3. It's so easy. You're God. We can do. You can raise it up. No, it's not that. So that's the other thing.
Sorry.
Yes. On Vedic, it remind me the story of Lord Ramachandra when he exiles Sita Devi to the forest. A very sad chapter, and his spiritual master tells him, now you're gonna have to how are you gonna do, because you must have a wife for your sacrifices to be successful. So Lord Ramachandra made deities for each sacrifice.
Golden
The gold,
statues
pure
of
gold deity
Sita.
of Sita Devi.
There were hundreds.
At one point, there were hundreds of them in a room. He didn't destroy them. He put them in a room.
Wait a minute. Historically, when was this? After he banished Sita?
After he banished
Yes.
Sita,
Okay.
He had to continue to be a perfect king.
So he,
Right.
every time he did a sacrifice, he made a golden statue of Sita.
Which he
Okay.
sat next to him.
And then when that sacrifice was over, the golden statue was put in the room with the rest of the golden statues.
Right.
So when this time when Krishna came
The
to
deities,
Boma
the Buddhists.
LIla, these golden deities, they became gopis.
I see. Wow. That's
Yeah, so
interesting.
they're one of the groups of gopis.
Do you have any idea where that's found? That's an interesting. It's an interesting
It's a
story.
commentary, but it's got to be Vishwanath Chakravarti.
It's probably Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's something that's quoted so many times that you forget.
Right. I have a quick question, and that is, whenever I've gone to Seva Kunj, the few times I've gone there over the years, I remember the first time I went, knowing that I'm entering into the topmost place on the entire planet, and I don't want to make any offense to Holy Vraj, but you go in there and you see these gnarly, I don't know botanically, maybe Nanda Patni would know since she's like a botanist, but there's these gnarly trees, kind of almost like more like shrubs. And the land, of course, is very parched, very dry in there. And then there's all these monkeys waiting to steal your sandals. Of course, they're waiting everywhere to steal your sandals. But I'm just wondering, would it be, I realize I'm seeing with my mundane vision, but I'm just wondering, since this is like that and Radhakund, these are the topmost places, but specifically in Seva Kunj, would it be, is there any obstacle to like planting more trees there? Because it just
that's if you do that, you get unlimited eternal benefits.
Because
so I'm wondering, like, why isn't somebody? I met our godbrother Ranchor Prabhu, Ranchor Prime from England. I don't know, back in the 80s, and he was there creating more garbage cans and planting more trees in Vraj, and I was really impressed by that. That a devotee had dedicated himself to like regreening. Of
that's
Vraj.
what we helped Srila Narayan Maharaj to do. He asked us. He got us to. He refurbished several places.
He planted a lot of trees also.
In Udal Kiari, which is the spot where the gopis stay waiting for Krishna, where Krishna departs, is that spot. And it was a Kadamba forest there. And Narayan Maharaj, he planted many Kadamba trees.
Nice.
The son of Satyanandan Prabhu, Nandulal. He has a Goshala. It's near the Bauji temple.
Who's Satyanandan?
The Gujarati Satyanandan.
Okay.
And he does a lot of planting of trees. He's got a big project at Varshana and also at the Goshala. He has a very big Goshala.
Actually, the sister of Prince Charles, she was part of the Vrindavan Trust, and she planted trees all over Vrindavan, but nobody takes care of them.
Well, one thing they did is they planted eucalyptus, which it seemed to be okay, but they won't work because they're not. When you have eucalyptus,
they're indigenous. Yeah,
they're not indigenous.
Eucalyptus shoots the roots out on the top.
You can plant bale trees and kadamba and all that.
There are a bunch of trees on the Parikram road that are in cages, and they were planted by the princes and
You mean Princess Anne?
The Queen of
Princess Anne,
I
Prince
guess.
Andrew.
Yeah.
I remember it was wide. What's it called?
But
It
she
was a
didn't personally
non-profit.
plant them, probably.
You know, I know
She
they
was
do a
part
lot
of
of that. They're doing a lot of
Yeah, it
it.
was a charity work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's in charge of Vrindavan.
It was a wildlife
Who's in
fund
charge
or
of
something.
Vrindavan? Who's in charge?
The Princess of England, the
Princess
sister-
Anne, the
Oh,
sister of
Princess
He's
Anne.
in charge of Vrindavan.
she's in charge of
Well-
the improvement and the trust for the welfare and
Really?
flourishing of Vrindavan.
Well, see, their foundation is Wildlife Foundation, so they go all over the place. They go
Yeah.
to
World
Africa.
Wildlife.
They go
Right.
into, of course,
Yeah.
when they went to India, Vrindavan is one of the the
Mhm.
places.
Nice.
Well,
Nice, nice.
trees.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I
The trees that were planted, they weren't.
not the right thing.
They were
Well,
not the right thing. So
the ones that
Okay.
flourished were the wrong kind, and
Yeah.
they're not
Okay.
doing
Okay.
good for the environment.
Right,
And
right,
the
right.
ones
right.
that were the right kind are just these scrawny little things that I don't know why they stay alive. They've been there for like 25, 30 years, and they're this tall and they're still alive.
But there is something that's going on, and Sri Ramaraj was explaining to me that Vrindavan will be
Covered over.
Yeah.
and Mayapur
Yeah.
Navadvip
Yeah.
is emerging. And I said the reason Vrindavan is being covered again is because of Nama Aparat.
Wow.
Nama Aparat.
Wow.
So now you see Vrindavan is like 4-star hotels.
Yeah.
People from the West that do this 5-6-story
Radharani condos.
Oh, yeah, Radharani condos. It has a temple
Yeah.
and it has a guest house. Everybody has a guest house.
And a
They call a
temple.
hotel and a temple. And so you see that. I know because I know so many people. We know so many people in Vrindavan and the local, and they would say, "Oh, that's a mafia guy that he's doing the businesses that they're imitating Prabhupada. They build a hotel, they call it a guest house, and they put a little temple there, and then you see it's just
And a
a hotel room, a hotel place."
But
I want to know, does anyone know what a bimba fruit is? Because in the Damodar
no, I've never
Oh,
seen
Kusha.
it.
Yeah,
Krishna's
Kusha.
cheeks are like bimba fruits. What?
Yeah, they're
Kusha,
red.
Kusha does.
She posted it. She posted it one time. We have a site here. It's called New Navadvip, and it's all the
Kusha's
devotees
the
of
temple president
ISKCON
in Honolulu.
Sangha.
Right.
She's
So
amazing.
we're part of that, even though we're in different island.
Every
So we get
day-
it all the time through the
Every day
internet.
we get darshan of Panchatattva and
Oh, nice.
Bhaktisiddhanta
Send me the link. I'd like
Prabhupada
to see them
and Jagannatha.
sometime. Send me
It's
the
on
It's
link.
on
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp,
It's on
New
WhatsApp.
Navadvip. New Navadvip.
You know Navadvip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to do links. It's on WhatsApp.
It's on
I wanted to
WhatsApp.
ask. I wanted to ask Jalangi and Shuddha Sindhu if they have any comments or questions about what we read tonight, because they're just listening very attentively. But I wanted to facilitate them. Do either of you have something you want to share or ask? Shuddha Sindhu, Jalangi? Anything from you from our discussion tonight? Nothing?
I'm waiting that others will say something.
No, we're waiting for you now. You must be 1 o'clock in the morning for you, or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
We have changed in the time, so I joined a little bit later because I didn't consider that you
Okay.
don't have this change of
What
time.
is it? What, 2 or 3 in the morning for you there? What is it?
Now it's 2:30.
Wow, you're
Oh.
hardcore. Do you have any thoughts on anything we read tonight? Thoughts or questions?
I am really eager to know at what point in your life, devotional life, disciples of Prabhupada, these deep realizations came into your hearts that you knew 100% or is that you knew and that Krishna was really working through you. Was it your endeavor or was it as if automatically through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada?
Wow, what a question. You want to say something on that? Hari, Babatrini, Nandapatni?
It just reminded me that actually it's exactly what she said. that is actually Krishna, is Prabhupada's mercy. Anything that comes is a descending process. So I was thinking one time in Buenos Aires, I was taken by the Secret Service, and they arrested me and put me in a political jail, 5 stories down, and interrogated me for about 3-4 days. But if it wasn't for the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I don't know, I would have been afraid, or they're pretty famous. Right after that, big dark times of Argentina came with 30,000 people disappear, torture, kill, all that from the same dictatorship that was taking over. But that time I could say that explaining Bhagavad Gita and telling them they wanted to know the basic of the philosophy and how did I apply it, what about my life. It was Prabhupada. I felt that there were words of Prabhupada coming out. It wasn't my doing. The same as when we were going out and preaching, it was like we were shaved head, we didn't wear wigs or anything, and so we're considered monks. And many times it was like Jesus and the apostles. It felt like that. I said, "Oh, what are we going to say?" And they said, "No, don't worry, the Spirit will come into you." So I think that that's pretty much where I feel it is. There is no, if you want to say, call it a procedure, but yes, we have to learn to be humble and to put the mind aside, our false ego aside, and surrender to the pure devotee, to Prabhupada, and then I think that is given to us.
Thank you. Bhavitrini, you have something to say?
I have.
You remember the question? You remember the question?
Yes, I do. And I'm ashamed to say that I have not come to any realization. I still am a neophyte. I don't want to discourage anyone. I've been following the process for over 50 years, and I've had times when I felt like I was in the spiritual world, but I'm still subject to illusion and false ego and pride.
But you're a little less illusioned and puffed up than you were 50 years ago, right?
Yes, yes. And I believe that I'm on the right path, and I will never say never, because I'm not the supreme controller. I could be put into deep illusion, and I just pray that I don't commit offenses, and that I can come to the point of being exactly what Krishna wants. Like Srila Prabhupada's poem, he said that he wants to be like a puppet, and that you should make me dance. So I want to come to that stage.
Nandapatni, do you have something you'd like to say?
Well, I think there are so many times when I realized that I was being, exceptionally blessed and given exceptional mercy. If I look back on it, I mean, I think when I was a teenager, the first time I saw Prabhupada, I mean, one was plucked out of the material world ostensibly right then. And I think I reflect on those times of extraordinary gifts. Being on Traveling Sanctum in India for me was just extraordinary gifts. And then in recent years, I went through a cancer, and that was just the most incredible gift from Krishna, who literally just pinned me down and I felt was speaking to me directly, kind of saying, I want you to get really, really serious. And I felt these were, different signs of this incredible mercy. I think Jalangi was saying something about how Prabhupada is working through you, or Krishna is coming through you, or something. Those were your words. And
Yes.
I can look back at all the deities that I got to dress in different parts of the world. I mean, I look back on these things and think it's nothing to do with me. It's just like, it's almost like Krishna wanting me to come back to the spiritual world. That's the way I see it. And like this week, I had my Gornitai deities arrive from West Bengal. On the the special rare day of Ekadasi, Dwadasi, and Trayodasi in Kartik. And I go to my front door, and there they are. And I have to tell you,
give us darshan, please.
Okay, it's difficult to do that actually, but
you can't carry your computer to where they are?
Probably, maybe it's a little dark there at the moment, but I just wanted to, in terms of the special mercy of where they came from. This is the address where they came from. West Bengal, Nadia, Rasamrita Kunj.
Wow.
Madhuvan.
Oh my God. Wow.
So, I mean, these are the signs, these are the gifts that we get. I don't understand it, and it's really kind of woo.
Next session, you'll have to give us darshan, okay?
I will indeed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's my response, Jalangi. I hope that helps.
I would like to hear from all of you, but maybe next time because of time.
Sure.
Now, you have so many stories from your book distribution or from preaching programs. You have sure enough so much realizations. Just when you were talking, I will allow myself to say this short story. Just I hope it will inspire you to share your stories, because I was blessed to have opportunity to distribute books many times, but for me it was always very tough. So one of these tough days I was looking around, standing with books, but looking around at shops, thinking deeply into my many material desires. And immediately I heard the voice of one old lady, and she said, "Young lady, you are standing here doing your well-wishing work for people. But me, the old lady, you are ignoring." I looked at her and I knew, just like Nityananda Prabhu or Guru, through this lady, brought me back to the street and told me, just be here, be now, be concentrated, and you are doing really something important for these people. And I gave her the book, but she said, "No, thank you." And she went. So she was just used by Krishna to say me something. So that moment, I personally, I realized so deeply this connection with the spiritual world. Thank
Cool
you.
story. That's a cool story.
Gora, we don't want to let you off the hook. You have to tell us. You have to answer.
I need to hear, Jalangi, can you please formulate your question again in one or like very briefly? I just want to get clear on what you're actually asking.
My question was, at what moment this deep realization in the heart came to you that you felt that Krishna or Prabhupada are working through you, that this is not so, how to say, artificial, that is genuinely coming from the heart, this connection with God, with Prabhupada, or with Prabhupada only, I don't know.
Gee, there's probably like several instances, but I have to go back. There was a series of events which led up. I remember being, in high school at 17 years of age, and how Krishna frustrated I wanted to be a recording engineer. And when I was told I had to chop up these frogs in biology class as part of 3 sciences, and I refused to do it, that caused me to go to my music teacher to ask him, I don't understand what the goal of life is, because I just want to learn how to be a recording engineer. And they're telling me I have to kill frogs. Can you please tell me what the purpose of life is? And he said, you come to my home, I have a gift for you. And usually teachers don't ask their students to come to their home. And he lived in the richest part of Winnipeg, where I was born. And he came out of a back room with a stack of books, Autobiography of a Yogi, by Paramahansa Yogananda, Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. But amongst about a half a dozen books was Bhagavad Gita. And even though that was a Penguin Classic version and not Prabhupada's, still the basic translation of Krishna's words. There was some Krishna there for sure. And that piqued my appetite. And then learned guitar and continued singing, coming back from playing at a bar. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I met a godbrother, Nandi Keshvara Prabhu, that said, what kind of axe are you playing? And I showed him my guitar. I told him it was the kind that George Harrison played. And he said, oh, did you know that George Harrison's into Hare Krishna? I said, yeah, I got the Radha Krishna Temple album. I put on a black light and I light incense. And I'm just trying to like chant Om and chant along with the words and on the album. I hope I can experience Nirvana at some point, And he said, well, why don't you come to our Sunday Love Feast? This is the spring of 75. I went to a couple of Sunday feasts, and then he said, listen, we're going to meet Srila Prabhupada in Chicago. Would you like to come with us?
I was there.
And you were there. And Krishna arranged it. Like we were getting to be a pretty popular band around town. We were playing like old Chicago blues. We were really cooking. But for some reason, Krishna didn't give us a lot of work at a certain point. And because I guess he knew I wanted to meet Srila Prabhupada. So I asked the band members and they said, yeah, okay, why don't you go for a couple of weeks or whatever. And I jumped in the Volkswagen van. We drove 13 hours from Winnipeg to Chicago. And then I met Srila Prabhupada at the airport. And I'd gone to a bunch of rock concerts before, and you go to see the rock stars and a lot of paparazzi. But when Prabhupada walked through, and were you there at the airport, Bhavatrini? Did you greet Prabhupada at O'Hare?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember that it was, we're supposed to meet, I think, at the United airline. And then they said, no, he's going to be at the American airline. And the whole Kirtan party moved from one side of the airport to another.
I don't really remember because we drove from Toronto.
Okay.
In a van, and I had a toddler and a newborn baby.
Okay. Yeah,
and
you had your hands full.
I was just like pushing strollers, and I don't remember the kirtan moving or anything. I just remember that we were lucky to get there.
yeah, and there was this deafening because in a air terminal, the acoustics, there's a lot of reverb in there. And the devotees were having a hardcore temple kirtan with wampers and I don't know how many mridangas, and it was thundering. in the temple room, the tumult, it was so powerful. And the anticipation of Prabhupada's appearance was just building. I mean, even before we got to the airport, Prabhupada is coming, Prabhupada is coming. And they were painting the whole temple white. When Prabhupada said somewhere, he said, it's funny, everywhere I go, I always smell fresh paint. They were painting the whole temple white, and there was just so much anticipation. And then finally, okay, Prabhupada's going to be at the airport in just, in an hour and a half an hour, everyone find a vehicle. And so, yeah, the anticipation to go and meet his divine grace. And then when the doors opened, and there was different passengers that came first, and then Prabhupada came, and I just went to see a chiropractor today, and she's told me I've got like C6 and C7. They're about to fuse because of too much time bent over on the net, So I got to keep my head up. But Prabhupada was like that naturally. He had perfect posture, and he looked so dignified. I've never seen this in another human being before. He had this dignity about him, this aristocracy, yet he was super humble at the same time. I mean, where do you see that in anybody? Yeah. He held himself with dignity, perfect posture, his head held high, and he was just beaming. He was smiling. He was so happy to see everybody. And the devotees were going nuts. They were smiling and crying at the same time. I mean, I saw this all within a matter of a few seconds. It was like a tsunami of emotion, all like that. And everyone hit the deck. I mean, that in itself was such a powerful samskara on me. But still, Maya is so strong because after Prabhupada left, I found some contacts and I ended up playing with the drummer that played with Jimi Hendrix and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't come back to the temple for about another 5 or 6 months later. I had to realize that, even though you're making good money and you're playing with big stars, Prabhupada, you know that you're living a life of, you're not living a life of integrity if you're not living the kind of life that Prabhupada wants us to live. That Prabhupada is the revolutionary. And that was the impression I got. Prabhupada is the one that's here to save the world. There's nobody like him. He's my master. I can't be a phony anymore. I can't hide out in the material world and try to be somebody that I'm not. And so just meeting Prabhupada in itself was great mercy. So I'm in that. That's one of the reasons I created Srila Prabhupada's Disciples, my God Brothers and God Sisters group, which is 900 Prabhupada disciples. It took over 10 years to find them all because I feel so indebted to Prabhupada's disciples. Without them, I wouldn't have this nectar. I wouldn't be with all of you right now. I don't know what I'd be. I mean, at my time, when I saw what was happening to Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, they were all overdosing on drugs and alcohol. I just thought, I better pull out of that scene before I get sucked into it. So Prabhupada saved me, and you're all saving me. So that's just a little bit. But I was thinking, we could have a whole session sometime of just talking about our experiences in Krishna consciousness. Because,
we were in Vrindavan one time, maybe 2000, Brahmananda Prabhu, he was introducing all the devotees. And he said, I think we should write a book. Each devotee should tell their story of how they came to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
How they joined. They're all extraordinary people. No matter what age, what gender they were, or whoever became attracted to this movement and still are attracted. And the other thing I was just thinking that she mentioned that actually Krishna is also crying and looking for us. He's searching for us. But love is free, isn't it? Love is there's no. So he has to let us do our choice. He does. He's even to Arjuna at the end, he tells, well, now you know everything, but
you decide.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
He wasn't given it like the Chitananda Maharaj. Prabhu says, it's not the 10 commandments. Those are, moral suggestions.
Yeah, I remember Rupa Nuiga back in '76 when he was our GBC. He said, Krishna consciousness cannot be legislated.
Exactly. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati mentioned that. They said Bhakti, it's like it's a river, a current that cannot be. People try to form maybe institutions or something to kind of capture that spirit that that we can't really totally describe, which is love. I mean, like prem love. They said people do like a dike in the river, but it just the water Bhakti will stagnate. It will try to find another way. So the party spirit, and I have a better guru than yours, so mine was, it's all material consideration that will impede us from realization. So going back to that humbleness, I mean, like what Tracy, I feel like that too. I haven't advanced. I'm not advanced devotee. I have some memory. I can recall what others, what Prabhupada had said. Not everything, of course. But Nanda Kumar told us a story about they're all in the manner that not all, but Prabhupada and Nanda Kumar at that time was a servant of Srila Prabhupada, and George Harrison came to visit, and they're all hanging in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada got up at one point and went to the bathroom. And so while Prabhupada was in the bathroom, George Harrison said, "What are you going to do when he's not here?" And at that time, Prabhupada came out, and Prabhupada said, what was it? It'll be by realization. It'll be by revelation.
Revelation.
By revelation.
Wow. Thank you.
Are you in touch with? Are you in touch with Nanda Kumar? Do you see him over there in the island?
Well, we're friends.
I just got a message from him and his partner, wife, or whatever. And we have 2 cows that were theirs for about a month. And I said, you should come visit the cows. And she said that she and Nanda would like to come.
Could you please invite him to this session? I can invite him, but he doesn't always respond to me. So.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a recluse.
We have invited him.
I haven't.
Oh, thank you.
Yet come out to, but yeah, I will. And recently, I heard we keep in touch here and there, and I have heard.
Yeah, Nanda Kumar could just go on forever. We bring him, he could talk.
Yeah, he was. Prabhupada came to my house, but I was like, a little, I mean, I wasn't GBC or anything. They all knew me because they knew I went to, Prabhupada. So anyhow, Prabhupada came, there was no place to put him. I said, my place, please. I just painted. The place is ready. And it
smells like new paint.
No, actually, I made sure everything was dry and made him a desk. But one thing I did, I'm reading everything I could. How you receive a great personality. And so at one point, I remember reading fresh cuttings, grass cuttings mixed with yogurt. So I sprinkled them from the sidewalk all the way to my house. All these blotches of grass and yogurt. And Prabhupada was like walking and avoiding, looking at like, what is this?
We did that in Honolulu.
But there was, there's Brahmananda, everybody there. And at that particular time, Nanda Kumar was the servant. But it was Hanuman who introduced me. After being introduced to Srila Prabhupada, my sister and I, we were in Los Angeles. So Hanuman, everybody that came, and so Nanda Kumar at that particular time was his servant. So it was my first connection with him. Next time was that when Prabhupada came to my place. And so he saved me puffies. He made
Nanda Kumar
saved me some
They wouldn't
puffies
let him in the house.
Puffies.
When
They wouldn't allow. They wouldn't allow Brahari
they wouldn't allow him in the house.
No.
Into his own apartment.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember I did a bunch of collection of stuff. Like we live near the park, and we heard that Prabhupada liked to chew the ends of neem or eucalyptus. He liked, and then use them as
Toothbrush.
your teeth. And so I did. I cut twigs, nice size, like tooth and brush size, and all kinds of things like that. And we covered the Srimad Bhagavatam with real nice prasadam cloth. And I still have one volume downstairs in our temple that Prabhupada asked, to read. But yeah, when it came time, they just pretty much closed the door, and it was, all the senior, and Prabhupada was coming in with, first he came by himself. Second day, he came with a professor from UCSD and brought him to the house, to my place. And they were chatting. So it was kind of, only pretty much the seniors and sannyasis and all that. But yeah, I invented an excuse. I said, I forgot my camera, Prabhu. So Rameshwar said, what are you doing here? What do you want?
It's your own place.
Place. It's my place. So I came to look for my camera, and very slowly, try to see, by chance Prabhupada will come up. And Prabhupada's taking a shower, so what can I do?
But
so
you got to chat.
I left, but Krishna, if you really, that's the thing. The main thing for this is to desire. It's not that and then to realize that it helped me, be humble, like, hey, it's not my house, it's Prabhupada's house.
Yeah.
It's Krishna's house.
I've heard it said that wherever we live, it's actually not our home. We're a guest. It's Krishna's place, and he lets us.
Well, I mean, ultimately, really, we lease. Even it's funny. So I tell people, say, "Oh, the kids, they're looking for a place to buy and own their own home." I understand, compared to having a landlord, but ultimately, we're leasing from Uncle Sam. We're leasing from the government thing, and if you don't pay, you have to leave. So life is like that. We're leasing all this stuff. Actually,
yeah.
To consider it ours is ridiculous.
Yeah. But you did get to say Gayatri.
So yeah, that front door was bevel glass, and I had covered with a bamboo curtain. And then that night, the Prabhupada, it was up, and so I could see in. And there were 2 steps. So I sat, I came to in the evening, chant my rounds, to the door, to Prabhupada, and I got a chance to see Prabhupada all by himself. He comes out. I thought, oh my God, Prabhupada, so I paid obeisances. He didn't acknowledge me being there, but I think he knew I was there because the things that happened. So I was just thinking, I made him that table. I hope he pleased him. So he went back and he lifted his leg and put his foot on the edge of the table. and he went, okay.
He heard that Prabhupada didn't like the way the tables would always go flying across the room. So he secured it so that it wouldn't move when Prabhupada pushed it.
That baby, it was
And
nailed to the floor.
so Prabhupada tested it. And Hari Hari was watching. He took his foot and pushed the table and
Tested it out.
good.
And then he leaned back and he proceeded to say Gayatri. So wow. I'll say Gayatri too. So I was just saying Gayatri, my spiritual master.
On that note, it's after 10 o'clock here. I should chant my Gayatri.
Oh yes.
But, anyway, I hope I don't know, maybe you'll be celebrating somewhere else, but I look forward to worshiping Govardhan Hill with whoever can make it on Friday.
Oh yes.
We're
And I think the time will be great. I mean,
it's 1:30 for us.
Oh, perfect.
Unless you've had a time change. Did you have
that's coming up. Krishna Chandra, when's our time change? Do you
know? I believe it's this Sunday, the 7th of November.
So it's 1:30 for us here. And the temple here is not going to have a celebration because everyone there just got over COVID. And now
they want to go.
Now a lot of people are sick with something else, so they can't hold. So we're planning to celebrate with all of you.
Fantastic. Okay, I look forward to your association. Thank you very much, everyone. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Manchakalpa, Trubhyascha, Damodarastakam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Desai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.
Haribol, Haribol.